peanut butter and banana on toast. It is freaking delicious. I've currently got 3 dogs watching me eat. Wash it down with some tea. I made myself 2 slices. I don't know if I can eat 2. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Romanyfaye, and if you're new here, hello. Why am I talking with my mouth full? Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Romanyfaye, and if you are new here, hello and welcome. So today we are going to watch me eat my breakfast while we talk about primers. So you may have remembered a couple of weeks ago I did a in-depth, step-by-step skincare and why you need your moisturisers and your toners and things like that. Yeah. Why that bit of banana tastes salty? So yeah, it was step-by-step guide to my skincare. It was a 101 of skincare. I have the most dodgiest looking bun today. Look, if I take this out, okay, so I went to bed with my hair wet, with my hair up like this, and if I take my hair down, oh look how long it is, it's still wet. And it's curly. I'll leave my hair down for a sec. I will get annoyed with it in a minute and probably throw it back up into a dodgy looking bun. But before that, we'll leave it to settle into life. Okay, so today we are going to do step-by-step guide to all I know about primers. Not all there is to know about primers, because I don't know all there is to know. Following on from my skincare one. So what is a primer? So a primer is something you would put on before your foundation. Oh God, I'm sat on my foot. I'm always sat on my foot. My foot goes dead. How many times in my videos do I say I'm sat on my foot? So a primer would be something that you put on before you put your foundation on. Like a wall. Oh my God, I thought that was so much closer than what it is. Like a wall in your house, anything like that. You would put a primer down if it needed it. You would put a primer down, say you had a wall that was slightly cracked, had a few little divots in it, a few little holes, you would put a smoothing primer on, a filler on that wall to fill in any of those gaps. That's the same as a face primer. You would use a face primer to correct anything before you put your foundation on. So primers come in all different, I was going to say shapes and sizes, all different consistencies, anything like that. Let's have a look. So you can get a hydrating primer, a pore filling primer, an illuminating primer. I don't have a mattifying primer. A like one that helps stick. Colour correcting primers, oils, sprays, lotions, creams. What I generally use is a pore filling for my nose area, because my nose, let me look, my nose has some pore issues, and I guess here as well has a little bit of pore issues, which just putting a concealer or foundation over the top of that, sometimes depending on the concealer or foundation, it will sit in those pores and it'll end up emphasizing them a lot more. So we would use a primer to help prevent that. So I generally use a pore filling primer, which would be the Professional. I do have a Dr. Jart's one. I've never used this. This is the Maybelline New Baby Skin Instant Pore Eraser. Apparently it is for adults only. So a lot of these pore filling ones, they're very silicone-y, they slide on, and you would generally pat them or roll them into the skin. What the pore ones do are pretty much all the same. They fill that pore up. They will fill that cavern, fill that crack in the wall. They will just fill them up, so when you put your foundation over the top, it will smooth over. Oh, I whistled. I'm like the beaver from Lady in the Tramp. It would fill in those pores, and then when you come along with your foundation or concealer, it will smooth over it, not settle into them. The hydrating primer, I do use more winter time, and that will be mainly in these areas on the perimeter, and I get like quite dry around my mouth here. So I would use a hydrating primer, which will help do exactly that, hydrate your skin when you put your foundation, concealer, whichever it is, over the top. Not going to go dry and crispy. Now generally I don't use a primer on an everyday basis. That is mainly because I'm not sure if it does work 100%. The pore filling ones, pretty much, but I'm not sure how much they work, whether they do what they say. A lot of people have that opinion. A lot of people won't use a primer. A lot of people think that their moisturiser and everything else is good enough. The next thing would be like a liquid primer. So this is a spray. This is the MAC Prep and Prime. So this is, you'd spray it on. Oh, smells of coconut. And then I would dab it just to get rid of any of that excess. Right, and then this leaves a little bit of tack. So this leaves your face slightly tacky, ready for that concealer and foundation to stick to, so it's not going anywhere whatsoever. You could go in with the Pixie Glow Mist. This is not promoted as a primer, but it does say that it can be used before makeup, after makeup, anything like that. A little bit like the Fix Plus. So this is more of a hydrating one and a glowy one. So this will help my skin look fresh. It will help my skin look glowing, and that will shine through your concealer or foundation. And as I said, it's a hydrating one, so it will keep that barrier between my face and the concealer or foundation, keep my face nice and hydrated, doesn't let it dry out. Things like the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter for a Superstar Youth Glow. Now this isn't promoted as a primer as such, but it will act as a illuminating primer. So look at my skin after that. So this can be put on before makeup, so before your foundation, after your foundation, or alone. And some people use this all over the face. I, however, get out of it. I, however, just use it as if it's a highlighter, a liquid highlighter, which is technically what it is, but Obviously, if you use it all over your face before your foundation, it's going to shine through a lovely, beautiful glow. This also evens out slightly your skin tone. It has slight colour to it, and I haven't put any on my nose. That's mainly because I haven't put that Professional one on. So let me just, so the Professional, I just squeeze out teeniest, tiniest amount. Get that between the fingers, and I just dab it. And then kind of press and roll it into the areas so that it's filled in those pores, so it's ready for me to put my foundation or concealer over the top. The pore filling one doesn't have a stick to it. It's more of a slip, if that makes sense. So some of them stick. This is more of a slip. So it's slipped and it's slipped in. That's what she said. Just slips over and fills in any of those divots. Obviously, you don't have to do all of these steps, any of these steps. This is the Glam Glow Volcasmic. This is a matte glow moisturiser, but you could use a mattifying primer if you were oily skinned, and you would just put that on the areas on your whole face if you're oily on the whole face, or just in the oily areas, and that will help keep those oils at bay. This is the photographic fluid, and this is a colourless priming fluid. It's like illuminating. I will just pop a little bit on. Just put some there. And what this stuff does is this even out skin tone. Let me just make sure I get everything right. To balance out undesirable skin tones and skin imperfections. And for this, I like to use a foundation brush, and I just kind of pat it into the areas and blend it out. So you can see that it says colourless. It will change in a second, and over that nose where we've got that pore filling primer, tap it. Oh, it smells a bit funky. Disturb that primer too much. So that's the type of primers that I have and how I would use them. Do you need primer? That is completely up to you. I generally only use primer when I am going to be wearing a full face of makeup all day or all night, you know, for a long length of time. I do use the Charlotte Tilbury pretty much every day, just on these areas, and I do use the Pixie Glow Mist quite a bit, as you can see. The matte Prep and Prime, a lot of the time I use it as a setting spray rather than a primer. I don't do all of that. I think personally primer is something like a face mask that, unless you can see 100% its results straight away and you know that it's working, it's a little difficult to tell. It's whether you could just use your general skincare as your primer. A lot of people do. I watch quite a lot of influencers on YouTube, and it is mixed. Some people use primers all the time, some people don't use primers at all, and I would say both of those, they all, you know, but both of them on both sides, they both have very nice face makeup. I think that a primer is good as long as it does its job. You've got to also put into consideration, sometimes you've got to get to know your foundation that you're wearing and make sure it plays nicely with everything else that you're throwing at it. So your skincare on, and then your skincare has to play nicely with your primers, and then has to play nicely with your foundation. If your foundation starts breaking up, acting weird, it could be the primer, could be your skincare, could just be your skin. There is so much to learn, so it is just playing about with it. Anyway, I hope you found this useful. I'm obviously not telling you, I'm not telling you to buy a primer, I'm not telling you to use a primer, I'm not telling you not to use a primer or not to buy one. It is completely up to you, but just so you know that there are so many different primers out there that you really need to sit, look at your face, look and see what areas you have that you need to prime. So if your T-zone is an oily T-zone, but your perimeter is dry, you might decide, I just want a mattifying, oil fighting primer on your T-zone and the rest just leave it be. You might decide that you just want a sticky base all over to help your foundation to stick. Some of them will work for me, not for you, vice versa. So really sit down and see what you want from a primer first before you go and buy one. Go and get a sample of primer. So pop to Smashbox, they've got lots of different primers. Get to know what you want out of it, then go and grab some samples and see how it works for you. Anyway, after that long rambly video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Comment below what kind of primer you use, what kind of primer you recommend or don't recommend. Alright, I'll see you all next time. Thanks for watching. Bye!